This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
Does anybody remember how they got here? Does anybody know what it is?
We gotta get out of here! It's the death machine!
The walls are closing in. Star Trek's Nicole DeBoer.
Just wanna wake up.
For the first time on television, Sci-Fi presents the cinema event, Cube. Saturday at 9 on Sci-Fi.
What is this place?
It's a hypercube, a four-dimensional cube. Rooms repeating, rooms folding in on themselves, teleportation.
This is the worst nightmare I've ever had.
For the first time anywhere, Cube 2 Hypercube premieres tonight at 9 on Sci-Fi.
Hello. You're on.
Computer on. I'm your host, Soli, and I have super convention attender, Jeff Kerr. Eyes of the Kerrs, Kerr Walker.
Yes. I'm looking very unkempt at the moment because my curly ass had been drying off, been out of the shower, hadn't had a chance to straighten up. But the simple solution to that is always
a hat.
Throw on the ball cap.
So you've been busy.
Nice Stetson.
What upcoming expos are you attending in the future?
Just coming up soon is going to be Colorado Springs, but that's the only one coming up soon.
Any big guests?
I don't even know if any's been announced yet.
Last year, you met
Ric Flair.
Ric Flair.
Mm-hmm.
There's a wrestler I'm surprised hasn't really done many movies.
That's the only one I remember.
Yeah.
He would have been perfect. He'd probably be way more likable than some of these wrestlers who, wouldn't be picking as many questionable movies like The Rock and wouldn't be awful off screen like, Hulk Hogan. He'd be perfect. But yeah, you got into a few in Cedar Rapids and Indiana, I think, and you said you got to see Shatner, Elvira, Bruce Campbell, the usual.
Didn't get a chance to speak to too many of them. Did get a chance to speak for a long while with Loretta Swit, who was an absolute sweetheart.
Loretta.
Just could not get enough of her. Just absolutely profoundly brilliant woman. The woman could talk your ear off. She just the deep thoughts that she and I got into, and she was there to promote a watercolor book that she had done some decades back. And she is also really into animal activism, which her watercolor book, the proceeds to that go to that. I'm rambling. I'm not exactly saying it properly. She has a charity that the proceeds of her watercolor book go to her animal foundation. I don't have the information right in front of me, so I
really love that.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like, I don't know, it just seems hard to find the right kind of convention without ones that are a little over saturated, or I just get annoyed when you get there and then you find out, oh, it's a VIP only line, so it just means sit in line for maybe an hour, but don't actually get to interact with the person. No thanks. I'm just like,
Yeah, for certain.
I want to actually let them know, hey, you guys did a hell of a great job. You're beloved. Not everyone knows about this, unfortunately, but you got fans out there,
Which one was it? Wicked West was the last one we were at. Wicked West. And
Best.
God, I'm terrible right now. It's the evening. I'm off. Where is that at?
It's in Loveland.
Okay, Wicked West in Loveland, and that's usually held around April. They had the voice that did the angry guy in Two Stupid Dogs there last time. And he also did Sokolov in Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater.
Wow. Hey.
And once again, I'm blanking on names, but I could look it up in a second. But I actually got him to autograph my old beat up, well-loved, well-used copy of Subsistence.
Sweet. So
but yeah, heck of a raconteur as well. Always had some funny story to tell.
That's why we're here tonight. Well, we're talking about the Cube movies.
Oh God, and you can see my mess of blankets, books, crap that I'm like, I need to get this cleaned, but there it is.
Woo! At least it's not one giant pyramid you're stuck in. So
but yeah, on that note, that's actually why I'm late, is that, and I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry. I looked back at the original invite and I saw 8, and I either misread something on there or I looked at the wrong number. I don't know what, but because of that, I've been for the past nearly hour and a half watching Cube Zero.
Oh, jeez.
And I gotta say, I've been pleasantly surprised.
Oh, good. I couldn't get into it, but it had some cool visuals.
Well, the gore has been definitely fun. That was the thing that impressed me to begin with, is that after the after the second one that really seemed to phone it in, the first 2 kills were like, okay, seems a little bit as a return to form. And so here I am. I'm trying to give the watcher's angle just a little bit of a let it feel out, kind of like Cabin in the Woods, but a little bit more of a Big Brother-esque way, kind of like someone who claimed they read 1984 in high school and then said, you know what, I'm going to do a story like that.
At first, I thought you were going to say, I'm going to misinterpret it and join a political rally. Oh, don't do that.
Oh, no. We're
good.
We could go on and on about what the actual text of that book is, but
all good. So I first heard of this because part two was a Sci-Fi Channel movie. It opened up my eyes. I'm like, what is this original '97 movie they talked about? And I'm like, wow, it's a just seeing what looks like a futuristic Holocaust-looking oven room where people are escaping, just like in kind of
Oh
a
my
George Romero
God.
kind of low budget and showing all
Am
these.
I frozen on your end?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, because
Well, the video is, but here, stop the video. How about now? Can you hear me?
that was an
Uh,
ugly, ugly image of myself.
it's all good. We're only audio. So can you believe
That's
that
perfect then.
Vincenzo Natali, he's gone on to so many other stuff like Haunter, Splice, and In the
Oh, yeah.
Tall Grass, various episodes of like Westworld, American Gods, The Peripheral, the recent version of The Stand, and Hannibal. And it's like he loves posting on his official website his various storyboards too. So I mean, that's a labor of love because it just was wild. It's like it was one of those just looking at it, I'm like, it's cool. It's got a sci-fi technology, but there's some horror outline in that, people are trapped in a minotaur type maze, they're trying to get away, and there's other people who are a danger to themselves and others,
Mm-hmm.
You got Maurice DeWint as an asshole named Quentin, who claims to be a police officer, and you're like, well, clearly he's a bad cop as he has ill-advised intentions. There's an autistic man, Kazan, who is able to predict the numbers. There's Rains, an escape artist, and then there's then they meet other people who have nothing to do with the group, and but so wild how David, played by David Hewlett of Stargate Atlantis fame, is like,
Yeah.
he's an asshole here, but a different kind of asshole. He kind of redeems himself, and then the paranoid conspiracy theorist Helen, and then Joan, played by Nicole DeBoer, who you might know from the TV version of The Dead Zone and Deep Space Nine. And it's like, man, it's just so fun just seeing all these actors play off each other. You can't really believe that it was made for only 350,000. It's like, jeez, that's crazy cool.
Well, and Quentin, what did you say the actor's name was again?
Maurice DeWint. He's been on Captain Power and various other TV shows, movies.
Yeah. Did you ever go through and watch the RoboCop?
Prime Directives, yeah.
Prime Directive.
Yep. First thing I ever saw him in, and it took me a while to put those two together. I've seen him guest star in other stuff and filmed in Canada, like Suits and what have you. But yeah, I mean, this is probably one of his best known roles, probably, and
yeah, for certain.
So weird seeing him be such a scumbag, and you're like, Jesus.
So I gotta ask you, did I hear you correctly that you said you saw the second one first, or you heard about the second one first?
Yes, because it was a sci-fi. It premiered on Sci-Fi. I mean, they both went to theaters and festivals in Canada.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The first one was like a video favorite, and then premiered on Sci-Fi back in '99. And
yeah, no, it completely was.
Yeah, but yeah, the sequel was kind of wild because it was almost kind of like a Twilight Zone episode where you're having all these people acting unethical and scheming against each other. Tarantino's cinematographer was one of the many movies he directed.
I remember that it was meant to try to have almost kind of a Dante's Inferno-esque.
Yes. Yeah. Basically,
this ascent, descent.
Basically, all these guys who are trying to scheme off each other and then finding out, is this real or not? It's kind of almost Matrix-ish at times.
Mm-hmm. But I was asking about that because for me, I learned about Cube from its trailer, and I've been racking my brain to try to even remember which movie it
What
was.
Lionsgate kind of movie it would have played before. Yeah, that's cool. I know there's a Wicca where it's like they talk about trailers and where they would have played. June 1997 trailer.
I probably would have seen it on a VHS that would have had the trailer on it.
For Trimark.
And would have been like, oh, yeah. I got to watch that movie. And then there it showed up in my video rental store at the time. And it's like, oh, mine. I got to watch this movie. And there I am watching it on old VHS, just blown away by this film.
Sweet.
Okay, rewind. I'm going to watch that one again tomorrow.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's just that electronic score is very creepy. The set design looks bigger than it actually is. So kudos to them for designing it that way. And it's gotten a bunch of different Blu-ray releases. I know the South Korean Blu-ray is like the best in terms of the special features. All region free.
The part that you always have to hand the film to is that it's all a single room shot, that they basically shot out of order just to keep the budget intact. Okay, so when we're going to do the white rooms, we'll all do those scenes in order, then the blue rooms, the red rooms.
Yes.
And apparently the red rooms were the worst ones to do, of course.
Right, just in terms of how it appears and everything. But also kudos to, much like Romero, like a mindless crowd is going to probably go to his movies and like some of the over-the-top moments, and the rest of us get the social commentary that he's talking about. And it's cool to know that, hey, it's still a progressive movie. Like, the females aren't, damsels. Not every guy's an asshole, and the autistic person, you feel like they're doing their best possible representation instead of playing a callous stereotype.
Well, yeah,
a lesser filmmaker would have not been too careful.
Well, to expand on that, the devil's in the details on that in their names.
Yes.
Looking up on that each character, their name was named after a famous prison, and each prison or institution was specific to either their gender, crime, or personality. So like Quentin, San Quentin.
I see what you did there. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I didn't think of that. It's mind blowing.
And you can look them all up. That each character was named after a different prison that had to do with their reputation.
I forgot there were some other prison references. Oh my
God. And also for how they would eventually pass too.
Wow. Gone the extra mile.
And those are the things I like.
Right. Without feeling like, they just were goofing around, having too much fun, leaving us out of it. And I a lot of these movies did not have great reviews when I first saw them, but I think that's why they lasted so long. They made good on their formula, but they're still kind of word of mouth movies. But I mean, these actors are still working, and they always do some panel on the movie, some capacity.
So,
even if
that too, I have to play off of that word of mouth. for me, once again, it was, oh my God, you have to see this movie. And then, a year later, someone would come up to me and it's like, oh, you have to see this movie. Oh, what is it? Cube. Oh my God, I remember renting it the day it came out. No, it's amazing. And then, here's two cult members meeting in the wild.
Where are they? They're everywhere. I was also just kind of just from there because these actors are just so good and everything else I've seen them in, is like Canada's really underrated. And I mean, I know Cube 2 gets a lot of hate, and don't get me wrong, the trailers for it sucked. They looked very cliche. When I saw it, I was like, I don't mind it, but it feels like it would have worked better. My main critique is it would have worked better as an Outer Limits episode. But you have to get, I mean, the main issue would probably be there's a few too many people at times. But I think it works pretty well overall, considering the fact that the producer redid some sequences and reshot some stuff. But I mean, Gerard Wynn Davies, he's another guy from RoboCop Prime Directives as the private eye here to locate a woman, but he has some other ill intent. And Carrie Matchett, she's been in a lot of stuff. Studio 60. She was actually coincidentally in another movie by the director of Cube called Scifi, which is also very cyberpunkish, So I think that's what I love too, is like even people who don't know entirely what cyberpunk is like, okay, take the visuals, holograms, and evil corporations aside, there's still this whole, illusions and a bit. They always imply that there's a dystopia outside the minute they get out, but they don't. They leave it to your mind as to what that actually means, So for all we know, it could be a Blade Runner type city, or it could be something more like maybe Total Recall, The Running Man, maybe Star Trek, and it's like the Borg. It's just that kind of just.
Or it's just kind of your general climate change of neuromancer. God, I couldn't say that for a second.
Fair enough. I mean, I think all the movies have some strong acting. I guess I was just turned off by the third one just because it just felt too much like a Saw movie and less like a Cube movie. But it was interesting.
Well, yeah, for certain.
I like gore. I don't know. I'm picky.
I can see where you're coming from. I haven't finished it yet. I was just a few minutes away from the end, and I'll have to finish it and get back to you with my thoughts. But I just wasn't completely put off because, first of all, mostly practical effects. It's a breath of fresh air.
There's that too. I mean, there's times where we watch movies and we can't even tell what is or isn't. It's just more, does it look like it belongs? I mean, so apparently there's an alternate ending to Cube 2, and I always wanted to get the DVD just for that, but I never got a chance. But apparently they implied she dies in both versions, Kate, who's the psychotherapist. But they imply that apparently in the other version that this was a quantum teleportation experiment, apparently. And apparently somehow the hypercube was only a 6-minute and 59-second experiment, which kind of blows your mind. You're like, yeah, that would have probably left more questions. You filmed it that way. But I remember talking to her briefly on social media about it. She seems proud of the work she's done on this movie, so that's cool. But but yeah, she's been in other stuff like The Tree of Life and um, just Angel Eyes with J Lo and other movies like, or well, TV shows like Poltergeist, The Legacy, Invasion.
My God, I haven't thought about that show.
Yeah, it's a like it or hate it. You would probably like her on the Nero Wolf Mystery with Timothy Hutton and 5 Days to Midnight, which also coincidentally has Timothy Hutton. But yeah, she's been in a lot of those spy dramas, political thrillers, and horror anthologies. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I love. She's actually recently been on Fargo in a wacky role, but I love those kind of people who are just chameleons. You're like, I've seen you. Oh, even it, because I think the other issue is we see some actors in other movies and we don't always necessarily know if they were good, but the movie let them down or vice versa. And I applaud anyone who can just make it work.
Well, you can usually tell when someone put in the effort, despite the script. You can tell when someone tried.
Yep. But I mean,
and those are the times where you're like, okay.
Well, and just the fact that we're still talking about these movies years later, that says something. Because like we talk about other, do-it-yourself kind of movies, and I brought them up many times before, and don't worry, they'll keep being brought up. But just George Romero's various other movies, like Martin, I think is a good one because it's about it's an identity crisis before it is, it's more than just a creature feature, And I love movies where, I mean, come on, there's a reason people quote Shrek. It has layers. But I mean, then you look at other movies like Wishmaster and Phantasm, and you're like, see, those work very well because they have they set up their own premise. They're heavily influenced by other stuff, but they stand on their own 2 feet at the same time instead of just I looked for it because it was similar to this movie, or I just remember it being crazy. I don't necessarily remember it being good. It's not something like that. I saw it. I don't know if it was good. Cube is kind of more of a the original feels like more than just a above average like Outer Limits episode. Like you feel like, hey, when you watch it every time, you want to put together where that character went bad. And I think it helps that we're not, it's more of a survival movie as opposed to an experiment, the billionth experiment gone wrong kind of movie. Like they're not, they're not there by choice. They all wake up, they're trying to figure it out, put the pieces together instead of, scientists that look too good for their looks and who are making dumb decisions, and I did see a negative review by like Slant Magazine acting like the characters were underdeveloped. I think they saw a different movie or just weren't fan of the genres whoever was reviewing, because I feel like there's enough depth. Like I don't feel like anything's shabby, but what do I know?
You can't please all the people all the time. It's just one of those things. I love to read reviews. They're entertaining. They're almost as entertaining as the movie.
As long as they're not snobby.
You kind of forget that any of this, even what we're doing right now, the commentary is all entertainment. It's basically advertisement for the advertisement. True. Go enjoy this product, good, bad, or the otherwise.
Just give a takeaway.
You don't like it, go watch it.
Well, there's that too. I see so many people who will watch something, but they'll be vague on why they liked it, and then it makes you wonder: do they even know why they liked it, or are they just tools? And then vice versa, you'll see people bash something, but they don't know why they hated it, and it's like, can you elaborate, please? Instead of just saying it's boring or sucks. It's just like, shit, dude. Just
oh boy,
or something other than speculation. So and so did it for the payday. Well, it's always a payday. They don't know if it'll be good or bad until they go to the premiere. It can change at any minute. It can be, some technical stuff goofed up in the lab. It can be, producer came in last minute and butchered it. Or it can be, it is a good movie, but the director and leads stars didn't get along, so they disowned it, even though it's not necessarily objectively bad. You never know until you actually sit down, you know. And sometimes you got to just shake your head and say, "Hey, man, I'm sorry. Yeah, Coppola or Brian De Palma, you've disowned this movie. You did a damn good job on it. You need to shut up and just take credit." I mean, I'd be honored to be in a bad movie. I mean, back in the day, dude, I would have killed to have been in something stupid that aired on like UPN or Skinemax or Sci-Fi Channel. I would have been having a blast and been like, if it's a good genre movie, sure. If it's a terrible B movie that you laughed your ass off at, well, I still did my job,
Well, that's always one of those things that everyone thinks about Greg Sestero from The Room.
Yeah. Oh, you
but
want to know
no
my
one ever
sister?
thinks about Greg Sestero from Retro Puppet Master.
You want to know my sister's theory is that he and Wiseau decided to evolve in the opposite direction. Like they got the worst possible movie out of their system, so then they could get offers for good shit. But yeah, that's true. You came from the Full Moon family, and I mean, my head is always off to Charles Band. I mean, even people who don't like low budget or cheesy movies will even give him some applause because I mean, he has just an unusual sense of humor in his B movies, and compared to other guys who take themselves too seriously or are trying to replicate Roger Corman but just feel too schlocky, It's just
Well, and this is another thing that I've been kind of hinting at throughout this to get back to Charles
the real
Band,
mastermind,
the
Jeff.
VHS. It's how he revolutionized the VHS market, considering Puppet Master.
Absolutely. Just just hire comedians and some other wacky people, come up with a wacky title alone that will make people want to see it out of morbid curiosity.
And then decide, you know what, instead of doing this in theaters like we were going to do,
yeah,
hey, VHS is blowing up. Let's just do this straight to VHS and see what
premiere
happens.
some of them on the movie channels, and have comedians like Tim Thomerson. Yeah.
It becomes this massive hit. And so my video rental store just had like the king of horror movie sections, just VHSs lined up all over the place.
Back in the 90s, yeah.
Oh my god. Oh,
my video store sucked growing up. I don't know what it was. They just kept finding, they would have the sequels but never the original movie, which made you confusing. And then they would just get movies that were clearly cut down versions of otherwise violent or sexual movies, and to where you're like, I should just try and tape it off TV if I'm not, And
not mine.
I'm glad you had a good one, because I had some other ones where it's like I would get a few winners like, hey, Good Times Home Video, or hey, a Sony RCA release, but then there would be some other ones where I'm like, the tracking is really bad on this tape. Can I return it, please?
Oh god, no.
I had some stinkers. Then there were other ones where don't never bother doing TV shows at Blockbuster, because they would always have someone who would never return the first 4 discs. So you're like, it's not going to make much sense if I want to watch the last 2 episodes, but I haven't seen the first 22. Oh, well, and I think they didn't know where everything was going before the 2010s. There were still some cooler video stores in the 2010s that I had the honor of looking at. There was one called On Video, and they allowed you different plans, like for renting, and
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to even just buy these various movies, you could do that. But I liked how they set up the different sections and combined different movies and TVs while uh, they weren't allowing anyone to really work there because I think the shop owner just didn't trust anybody beside himself. It was a questionable part of town. I'm like, dude, I can handle it. Uh, if someone's rude, I won't allow them to rent a movie. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm tired of all the physical media versus streaming disputes. It's like let people watch it however they want to watch it. We don't have to politicize everything. Jesus.
Well, I'm not even going to get into that. I just think that
No,
there's an
I'm just letting you know.
increasing demand for physical, and you see a lot of
It's just there's always someone
um,
who wants to
brick
push
and
one or
mortar.
the other, and I'm like,
What were you saying?
there's always someone who wants to push one or the other like to the side. I'm like, well, you're not going to get it on every format. Like it's only on DVD, so you're going to get that one. And this movie you can get on Blu-ray, so you'll get that because it's got more special features and better picture quality. And then, yeah, but it makes you worry about the ones that are streaming or TV only. You're like, well, what if that goes away? How will I be able to rewatch that in the future? uh, I'd like it to not be lost to time, and I'd like to legally pay for it if I could, instead of go to a rare DVD site.
Now, for me, I just wish physical was more available.
Yeah,
Just
instead
in the
of
sense that I went to two Best Buys the other
oh
month
yeah,
just to find that, oh yeah, sorry, all of us, all Best Buys stopped carrying physical about like 5 months ago.
them and the computers. Now you got to buy all these extra drives if you want to rip something to your machine. It's like, good grief.
It's just I have this amazing, gigantic physical media collection, and I love it. You can say that I'm just a curator. I love having it,
Yeah,
and
and you want to have it because otherwise people are going to resell it at on affordable prices. Why deny yourself entertainment?
and for me, I just wish, like, why can't this be available again? Because if it's available, people will buy it. There's a market.
Right?
If you want to stream it, there will still be a market. Don't try to fight one
Don't
market
predict.
over the other.
Yeah. And then I see other people, they get into like DVD versus Blu-ray. I'm like, if it's do whatever in your budget or whatever your preference. That if you don't want either of those and you want 4K, do that. Don't
Hmm.
don't poo-poo anybody. And I had so many people who were like, hey man, I only buy stuff on this format. I'm like, oh my word. So you're gonna
I don't
deny yourself all this entertainment value just because whatever.
I don't get that. For me, so I got a PS5, so I have access to 4K. If
Is
I
it
can get
shaped
it
like
on
a
4K,
cube? Is it shaped like a giant cube? Yes, it is. It's more rectangular, but either way,
yeah. But
probably
if
doing
so,
those
if I
laser
can
shapes.
get it on 4K for affordable, it's like, which surprisingly, some of these movies have dropped in price where,
They really want
like,
you
you
to
want
get them.
how much?
Yeah,
$10? $7
that's great.
for 4K? Okay.
Sure.
That's the same price for this freaking DVD version.
That's
Okay.
why I like the Blu-rays that come with like all free options. I'm like, see, now that's worth the 50 or whatever bucks. You gave me all free versions plus a code to digitally download it. That's a win.
Yeah. And
That's a
so
triple win.
I know there's so many people who are like, no, I gotta have my digital version. I have to have my um my hard drive version. And it's like, no, those you can't take that version away either.
Right? Why gatekeep? And
Mm-hmm.
in fact, I think that's what I like about these movies is there's an invisible gatekeeper, and we never really know the main culprit, the main mad scientist behind it, the main. You get ideas of, hey, this person worked on the design team and now they're the guinea pig, and the sequels explore some of the other guys who became unwilling experiments in it. So it's very fascinating for such an otherwise morbid movie and I feel like the deaths are earned. It's not just the only reason you're watching it,
So I got a little bit creepier and in depth with it with my girlfriend a few weeks back, talking about it, saying that this is basically the military industrial complex to a T.
Ooh.
That when you look at say Boeing or Ball or any of these major arms manufacturers, these government contractors that
Blackwater.
get these we're
Too soon.
we can talk about Blackwater later. No, we're not.
Yeah.
Not Blackwater.
You're talking about the worst of the worst.
We're not talking about PMCs. We're talking about.
But I know what you mean. Yeah, it's like you hear about all these different scandals and all these other Amazon, Microsoft corporations which won't let you take your phone in. So if there's a lawsuit, it's very hard to sue because it's hard to get any video proof.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I worked at the airport, and I won't say what state because I don't want to unintentional defamation of character. But I mean, those who are out there, you know who you are. But long story short, you're apparently prevented from having like a phone in certain places too. And it's like, well, but if someone's doing something that could get other people hurt or something, I'm not going to take liability for it. I'm going to show that they're not doing their job. But it's also hard if they do the whole, you can't technically take video. We'll sue you for that. And so it's very sticky. It's not just cutthroat. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's like, well, someone's not doing what they should be doing. How do I capture that and show visual proof?
Yeah.
Without violating other security privileges.
We'll return after these messages.
If you like small town mystery, crazy news, and wild history, then the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast is for you. Each week, Josh Mills and Wayne McCarty bring you the absolute best Florida has to offer. So if you're looking for a show that's safe for the family, but funny enough to help you escape everyday life, then listen to the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast. That's Florida Men, plural, on Florida Man podcast.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast wrecks and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
The Jacked Up Review Show podcast is honored to be part of the Blind Knowledge Podcast Network. Join anytime, talk the talk, and enjoy yourselves. There's something enlightening for everyone with this crowd of cool cats. Check them out. I'm glad you brought up some of those other companies because I think this is why we like sci-fi, this is why we like horror. This is why we even like action movies to some extreme. If you open up a dialogue and have more than just delivering the goods on time, it's more than popcorn,
But yeah, so to bring it home
run.
Yeah. What was the actor's name that was in Stargate?
David Hewlett, playing David.
Yeah, that as he was
Oh my god! Oh, yeah.
as he was explaining the whole behind the scenes of it, that the whole thing had no real reason, no real backing. You could almost think of so many $1 trillion projects that, say, Boeing has still been working on. Invisible planes, or not planes,
Oh,
jets,
drones, jets. Yeah. There
jets
was
and
some
drones that
aviation
will
and yeah.
invisible the radar, that still to this day do not work. That has cost trillions upon trillions of dollars, that still gets money funneled into it and does nothing. What's so insane about, hey, what about this Rubik's Cube like torture trap? What's it do? Well, we can put people in it, erase their memory, and they're all criminals or have some sort of history,
People we've already
possibly with
thrown away.
crime.
Yeah.
And we shall see how they interact with it and interact with each other and see how they get out. Cool. What's the purpose of this? Well, we can put our prisoners in there.
Right.
Okay, cool.
This is the prison Oz in the future. Instead of being an experimental prison where we had the worst of the wolves and they're all killing each other. Now here we got, there is no warden even, it's just like, Jesus, like you actually think and are willing to do something like this? Wow.
But there's just this insane undertone of what's the purpose? There is no purpose. Why are they doing it? God knows why.
I'm afraid to ask. Yeah.
They don't know why.
That's very true. Like I'm not saying I know everything, but I did get kind of a gist from that, and I'm glad you opened up that conversation. I had a feeling that he either got seduced by all this money and all this other instruction, or maybe he was the smartest guy in the room and they said whatever they said to him, to inflate his ego and make him think, oh, this is for the better good. But no, this is bad. And what do I get in return? I get to be part of the experiment, And that turned out well, didn't it? Yeah. And I mean, you got to ask these questions because it's kind of like we've had it before and it never really seems to go anywhere. Most people start off with something like, if you saw a bag of money abandoned, would you take it? Some people would say, I'm afraid that'd be blood money by the mob. I'd turn it into the cops and let them play around with it. Others would be like, nope, still in it. Bills are paid, overdue and I got to pay them, So I think it's, in a way, I do like stuff like this where it's like, no, really, what would you do?
Here's the thing about the bag of money. Is it's all dependent on the increment.
Yes.
And that's what's so interesting about that, is that if you ask a person if they see penny on the ground, do you pick it up? You might get a 50-50 answer towards yes, depending on whether they see it worth their time. And as it rises to a quarter, that will certainly increase. I don't know the odds. Even the 50-50 was arbitrary there, but once it's 25 cents, now it's like, once it's $1, if you just see $1 on the ground, just lying there, no one's looking at it, no one's around, it's just lying there. Do you pick it up? Almost across the board, everyone says yes. Do you turn it into the police? No. Why? because it's there, it's mine, it's my dollar. Why is that? Because that's how it works. $5, mine. $10, mine. $20, mine. $50, mine. $100, look, mine. And then as the denomination rises, it will all depend on the person's need, necessity, and proximity, and ego.
Yeah, well, I definitely think he had an ego on him. I think that's how they seduced him. I think that's how they got him in the thick of it, because it does make you wonder, how do people get to where they are? I mean, without getting over political, I mean, look at what we see now with today's world. It's like we'll see people saying outrageous things, and then unless you challenge them on it, they're gonna just keep babbling it, and it can't just be, oh, just change the subject. It's gotten to that point where it's like, okay, you're saying something really hurtful. We really need to talk about this,
True.
But I get it. If it's so unpleasant, you don't really want to open the subject either. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm for whatever, man. Just show me the money. Yeah. Also,
no,
but,
for me, I love delving straight into these kinds of things. And for me, I love
that's good, dude,
positing these kinds of questions.
Aren't
where
we all
does it
sick
go?
of seeing people complain, say, "Oh, they're politicizing my movies"? I'm like, you politicized it.
Well, I can send this to one other level and say that Cube almost reaches a gothic level in its story.
It kind of does. Wow, that's a good call.
Because of how you're trapped in this structure.
Mm-hmm.
There is a story involved in this structure, a mystery behind it, but what that is more or less up to you to solve, but it has kind of a language of its own to express whether it wants you there or not.
No, that's a good point. It's kind of got the right similar kind of moody music that you sometimes hear in like a Henry James kind of adaptation too, kind of, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's electronic, but that's what I have to do this with my folks too. I don't know if you've ever had to do it, but there's some times where I've had to. I say, hey, I'm into electronic music, but then they start making the. I'm like, no. See, I want some electronic music with an actual like lyrics, or it feels alive. It feels like it has its own type of trance or beat instead of just generic, Windows startup, Casio keyboard sound effects. And the music is a character. Like music is what definitely makes so many of these movies awesome for me, because they're just, it's a character.
I try not to bother with those conversations anymore.
Yeah. I know. Easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah. No, I hear you. They
can't win all these
sound
battles.
like they could be fruitful conversations, but every time they're attempted, it is a battle of
wits,
attention,
and attention. Definitely.
Why do I need to care about that? You don't. You absolutely don't need to care. But I guess I care. Oh, what? I don't care.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is an incredibly dark comedy bit. This is like reverse what was it? Gracie and
I mean, I would love for there to be some dark comedy in Cube, but alas, was not to be. But
oh, there's tons.
I mean, David has a few lines like "It better not be me" or "Leave him," but
Oh no! Oh my God! When he swallows his button.
oh, that's right. Well, okay, so it's more in the background and just for the character, but
Oh God! There's when they have to go to the bathroom.
oh, true. Well, I was caught up in the dramatic moment of that. I actually wanted to see what would happen. I miss when movies just kind of went fast, but in the right way. I see so many
yeah.
movies now which down, but it's just because they don't know how to fill their time. And so they go like that. We need 40 extra minutes just to be 90 minutes, or we're a mini series, but we ordered too many episodes. So there's 2 episodes that really don't impact much of the narrative. And movies nowadays is like they go so fast, but they're like, if you didn't have this great actor or talent involved, I really wouldn't give a shit if I really think about it. I don't know. And I mean, like, this movie could work in any era, I feel. And I really do, because like I've seen Vincenzo Natali's work on other stuff since, like Haunter. That was a good creepy family mystery, and it had some sci-fi undertones, but for the most part it was just kind of a horror mystery. And it was, again, it was a puzzle box worth unlocking. Instead of this got overhyped, what was the fuss? Was it because there was a shocking death in the last 15 minutes? No thanks. I need or again, someone was trying to rip off Sixth Sense or The Ring, and not in a good way. And same thing. We talked about all the movies that ripped off Die Hard and Alien, and then some people were more familiar with the rip-offs of those, and so you're just like, jeez. I mean, there were so many Gremlin knockoffs in the 80s and 90s, for better or worse, that make you go, dude, this should be amusing, not a chore.
But I do enjoy some of them.
They're fun. And don't get me wrong. I mean, we've talked about trashy movies on here. We'll be revisiting some other trashy franchises in the future too. I mean, look at The Substitute. Look at Wishmaster. Look at.
Oh God, The Substitute. Oh no. Oh no. How to disguise institutionalized racism as we're the good guys.
Yeah, they're basically Death Wish movies, and then some. I think I just watched them just because they were just so, and like, this is basically Punisher movies, but yes, if you go back on them, there's definitely some problematic elements where you're just like, oh Christ, if this happened in real life,
problematic. Yeah, sure. That's a nice, kind, candy coated way to put it.
I just don't know how else to say it. I'm just like, yeah, there's some shit in there that doesn't work.
There's some moments where you're gonna go, oh, okay. Did Treat Williams just fling a fucking
walked off the set of Deep Rising and onto these movies?
Black student breaking, was it a 40 on his desk?
I don't remember.
I don't think it was that bad.
I just remember the villains being over the top, and they were always like some career criminal or some teacher involved with black market weapons or some shit. You're like, why? Oh man, but I would watch another one if they got even Corbin Burnson or an Eric Roberts type and just did something just less outrageous. Hell, get Dolph Lundgren, then it'll be like Kindergarten Cop. I do legit. I would do another Cube. I would do another Wishmaster. I'd even do a Phantasm TV show, even though that whole storyline's technically wrapped up. Like, just if it's a cool cult franchise where, I mean, look at Evil Dead. There's something that wrote itself. No one could have predicted that success, but here we are. 5 movies, a TV show, and various comic books and video games later. It's like, see, that's awesome. You can do something more to it, and it will both impact and not harm it at all. It brings all kinds of people together. It brings people who like bad movies together. It brings back people who deliberately love it, as well as people who like cheesy B movie action horror comedies. So it's like, yeah, it's got all kinds of highlights that have really changed all kinds of genres. And yeah, I feel like so many people just want to, I don't know, they want to go to a clickbait site and bitch about something, and I'm like, yeah, but you already made up your mind about this movie. What does this do? Like, if you gotta search for words to put it in, I don't get it. And like, but this has been a delight. Like, I think summing up this movie with you, dude, because I think like, we know what the icing is on the cake, but we also know all the other ingredients that make it special. It's not something cryptic. It's also not something shallow.
Yeah. Oh, it's sorry, my voice is starting to give out a little bit. No, it was definitely a flash in the pan movie when it came out. I still remember the first time I rented it and was just blown away.
Nice. Just like when you cooked your first egg or had your first Happy Meal. So some memory to cherish.
Oh no,
it's more than that. Okay.
Awesome. I'd been a VHS horror hound since I was like 5.
Hey, awesome.
2 of my favorite horror movies by that point were the 2 House movies.
I would like to meet Steve Miner. I think he'd be cool to just shoot the shit and talk for 2 hours with.
Mm-hmm.
And again, another cool cat who kind of like all the Russell Mulcahy's, Stephen Hopkins, and Anthony Hickox. Rest in peace. Roger Corman. Rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
They have messed with so many formulas, and they're remembered. And people find out something new in every interview. It's not just the same thing each and every time. Like, I'm always following what Robert Kurtzman is posting on his Facebook. He kind of got fed up and wanted to quit it for a while, but of course he came back and showed off his new monsters he was creating for whatever movie,
Yeah.
Everything from Wes Craven to Kevin Smith to, his own thing. I'm like, dude, don't give up. Just, I mean, I get it. I get that social media is garbage half the time. It's like, just use it for why you're here. I knew so many people who were doing so many skyrocketing numbers on Twitter, and they gave it up. They're like, no, it's getting too ridiculous. I'm giving it up. I'm like, well, why not just block the people or spend only a limited amount of time before it drives you insane? When people get too crazy, I log off. Well, I don't log off, but I close the app and I come back to it tomorrow. You're there to promote, it's treat it like you would if you were at a business convention, or I don't know, if you were a celeb on network TV, you would want to stay on topic and answer the questions when prompted.
Oh, for certain.
Instead of just
But yeah, this has been fun.
Anytime, my dude. 2 episodes in one. I was actually meaning to talk a bit about the Nintendos, but that was cool to get that extra mini sode in.
You're welcome.
Favorite moments of the Dittos. You can look for this final week of September, Tech Week.
Okay, cool.
How does that sound? It's been a delight to meet you outside of social media and talk about
all right movies. Yeah, this has been fun.
Mm-hmm. It had a purpose. It had something good. And you be safe out there. I know, again, it can be a chaotic week. It's been a hectic year for me.
Yeah, for certain.
We got a rabbit who's not doing too well health-wise. We're keeping an eye on her. I just got a new car though, so I can probably, since I don't fly, I can probably drive to some of these cool live events around the country soon.
Cool.
I'm woke as fuck. So I mean, I have taken some therapy last year. I did 6 sessions of that, and it really made me realize I'm doing what I need to do, but I need to stop getting annoyed by just shit that ultimately doesn't matter. Like I would get annoyed about trying to not get annoyed, just stupid nitpicks. I'm like, just life is short. You're doing good. You combat insomnia. You have fun doing stuff outside of work. Just keep it up. The country's going to shit, but I think it's finding a way out of this tumor it's creating.
I am casually watching a game play out, and I am kind of enjoying the game I'm watching right now.
That's a good way to put it.
That sounds so cavalier, almost disinterested, but it really isn't. It's more so that I've been watching a lot of Fervor for a long time. And in these moments now when Fervor would normally be kicked up in even the most quiet of times, I see the most rational thoughts, the most calm and concise statements calling out, nah, this doesn't make sense. I see
it is wild how there is a lot of this doesn't make sense, and it's mixed in with, but this is every day of this not making sense. It's like if you're working an IT job and someone comes over to your terminal and tells you something that you can't actually do, or don't get me wrong, I am unfortunate to have been in jobs that no economy or business college can prep you for, and that is sometimes your boss asks you to do something that's technically illegal and you say denied. And if you fire me, then I'll see you in court. It's hard to talk about just unprofessionalism when it can be so rampant sometimes at certain places to where you're like, all you can do is just be the bigger man. Don't get scapegoated, and don't let it bother you. Like, unfortunately, the people who are morons, they think what they're doing is right, even though it's wrong, both morally and ethically,
Yeah.
And it's just like, and this is why we like talking about some of these movies, because they mirror reality in a good way. And we did a fun special on The Purge, and we had, much like Indiana Jones, we had people who were casual fans versus not really into it, but like the concept. And it's like, we joked, how funny is it that people in real life don't really like to talk about it? They probably have had similar thoughts, but don't want to bring attention to themselves. It's like, I guarantee you, a congressman has probably thought of an actual purge, but they don't want the political ramifications or want anyone to know they're unethical, so they don't bring it up. And people don't like to talk about ugly stuff, and I get it. It is depressing, but then there are, I just went through and saw all of Battlestar Galactica again, and I had a lot of fun with that. And I'm like, that's pretty good for a dark show. I do all kinds of stuff. I do X-Files.
Well, I still need to go back and watch Battlestar Galactica. I never watched Battlestar Galactica.
Galactica. Yeah.
There we go. That sounded good.
I actually think
enunciate.
I actually think Katie Sackhouse is a decent screen queen and sci-fi queen.
Yeah, but on that note of what you're saying is that been trying to finish a bunch of short stories of mine, and they are very much so in the same vein of, okay, what am I saying? Where is this story going? And how does the ending affect the beginning?
It's so hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
There have been plenty of concepts I've dreamed up. I've had to decide, should I make that be an animation, a web series, a movie? And I'm like, but that ending plot twist, I'm trying so hard about the twist and I'm not thinking about getting there. This is a problem. This could be a piece of shit if I don't iron out the details.
Well, for me, if I have the ending already in mind, then it's already like, okay, I kind of have a sense of the journey. It's like, okay, so this is where I want to end up. So,
you know how else I could tell that it's important to one is if you're still thinking about it years later and you're not tired of it, your interest in it has not wavered at all, it means something special to you somehow. It could be anything. It could be a cheap cash in on something. It could be something that's fun, but that just sounds cheesy on paper. Well, it's spoken to you because somehow it has ignited your interest. So don't just throw it away. There's plenty of stuff I would love to just write and have someone else take off with it. I'd be honored.
Well, whenever it's
comic.
finished, I do hope to have it put together in some sort of a collection, so it will
Someone else
for certain be shared once that's done.
Very cool, very cool.
But yeah, some of these stories, they definitely go in the same direction of.
It's funny how quickly that checklist emerges mentally.
Well, because you're not trying to, well, at least I hope you're not.
I do not go out of my way to nitpick. I go for like, have you created an atmosphere? Okay, you haven't done that. Is there something else that I can cling on to instead of just be like?
Because here's the thing: is that get a few beers in me.
That helps.
Get me in front of maybe a few YouTube videos, whatever. You can get me so damn political. I'll go off blah 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 blah. All over the place. I'll go over whatever topic you want, and it's not a, oh, you don't believe that? It'll be like, oh, okay, so and so what about this? Oh, that's really cool. So what if we did that? Oh, okay. It's just fascinating conversation all throughout. But when it comes to my writing, it starts with, a random premise, whether it's a single sentence or something I saw, or maybe even a dream that just stuck with me. It's like, what can I do with that?
What does it mean? Yeah.
Because it's always fun when you have those dreams that's just like, that was nonsensical, that meant nothing.
Yes.
What can I do with it?
Oh, man. There's something about it that stayed with you. That's more than just a dream. That's just a vision, There's been other stuff I've had. Have you ever had a dream which you've interacted with and you're like, yeah, this is not how I would ever act? And so as a result, you wake up because you're now interacting with your dream.
Oh.
It's happened to me a few times where I start
get what you
arguing
mean. And
with
the
someone.
answer is actually no, because I'm the opposite a lot of times.
I'm a fighter. I deny this.
I tend to be a lucid dreamer that is vaguely aware that I'm dreaming. And so the only time when I'm like, okay, I'm dreaming, wake up, is if it turns into a nightmare.
Well, all of my dreams are always kind of nightmares or something that just would not happen. So I smell the elephant in the room, but I'm also just like, yeah, no, this is bullshit. I'm not a bad student. I'm not. I'm not bad at my job. This doesn't check out. And so it's just always so funny how without fail I will just wake up because I start actually arguing with what bullshit my brain is pelting out. And I'm like, and there was one where I was like incredibly late to work and I just woke up and I just started guffawing. I'm like, oh, that'll happen never. Like I was so late. Like I'm like I'm yeah.
Okay, that I can understand. I have a lot of more kind of chill, relaxed dreams that just seem to be about people in my life, whether they're sometimes they're actual people like family or friends, sometimes they're just like amalgamations and they'll take place in my house or places that don't exist but kind of look like places that exist. And it's like, oh, this is a relaxing place to be.
Woohoo.
And so here I am suddenly in a movie theater or a bar or a restaurant, or it's like, I can do this.
You can do it.
Well, at that point, it's like, all right, I'm fairly certain I'm dreaming. I know I'm dreaming. I'm not too worried. Okay, this is getting dark. Okay, wake up.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. There will be a Nightmare on Elm Street versus Jason Voorhees franchise face-off soon. So we got plenty of dreams on display in this show. Dreams are only bad if they leave you wanting more, but you don't want, like, it doesn't impact your life, or if it's just stressing you out or something. And
oh yeah,
I always knew, about the science behind it, how it's often different memories or stuff that has come up mentally at some, especially recently, it's just regurgitating.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be severe. It's just
dreams are were always something that intrigued me, but just being little more than figments of both the day as well as your imagination.
Whatever ignites it, man, instead of it just being a drag.
But anyway, I think we were still trying to wrap this up.
This has been a delight talking about these movies, because it's not just, hey, there's only like 5 people who've seen it, and and now only a few of us actually turned our mics on and recorded it. It's like it's also just a testament to start small and ultimately go big. And I like these kinds of movies because they, again, are more than just, they're not lowbrow, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but then, they've only gotten bigger over time, and it's more than just a word of mouth. It's also just, they made good on what they promised. They, I look at some of these lists of other low budget movies, and some of those are winners too, because their behind the scenes stories are just as fascinating as what's on screen.
Oh, of course. That's
this would definitely make it.
That's usually the best part of getting into movies like this, is finding out the backstory.
The first one would definitely make one of my top movies of all time lists, just because there's something to find on each viewing, instead of just, I want something to get creeped out to before I crash in bed. It's more than just a good genre movie. It's also just it checks off all the boxes while leaving its own kind of style on it. Like, there are times where I see some other visuals and it makes me wonder, like, it's kind of how I was when I would see Industrial Light and Magic or Digital Domain or Weta had worked on a blockbuster. I was always wondering how many of the same minds who worked on a better movie worked on this movie, good or bad. And I do kind of get some similar kind of visual imagination from these kinds of movies too that make me wonder, I wonder if someone had a similar idea and now they're fortunately working on something bigger that they can do more of those ideas with. Like, and that's how I am with any filmmaker, like any of your ideas that you can't do on this one, use the money left over from this project to create in another project in the future.
Just watched Romeo and Juliet the other day.
James Gunn. It's funny how people are finally going back to his trauma stuff. It took him long enough. I still got to catch up on some of Joe Dante's more recent material. I'm like, yeah, I like the dude.
Yeah, I didn't know he had any new stuff.
Yep. In 2010s, he worked on some stuff outside of the Trailers from Hell YouTube channel.
Oh.
It's always a delight. And I kudos to any filmmaker who can make a compelling commentary track as well. I see so many who is like, you're good, but you're bored to listen to in interviews, keep doing what you're doing. And fortunately enough, a lot of these guys are really awesome to listen to. They really are just a delight.
Yeah. I still remember the commentary track on what was it? Monster Squad.
Shane Black.
Oh, that one was hysterical.
I bet.
Especially when they started laughing about the montages. Oh, God, I can't look at this anymore ever since Team America.
I need you on that wall.
Montage.
Oh, the Watchtower.
Sorry, I was going to say that was the commentary on the DVD. I'm not sure if they had new commentary on the Blu-ray or any of the subsequents that came out.
Shit, man, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I wish I knew, but I don't know. They should do some more. We'd like some more. We'd like some more. Please, sir, could I have some more? The gimme.
Okay, Oliver.
Is Cam losing his marbles, or is he referencing something? Yes. Really a delight, dude. Long time coming.
It was.
And I hope your year is going the way you wish.
Well, it's been a ride. It's been a delight, and I hope everything on your end's been going great too.
It's improved. It's improved. We're better.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening. It's a jacked up